Glad you could join us once again on the program Agribiotech, where we talk about biotechnology and agriculture. I am Lara Afolayan. On this episode of the program, we shall be taking a look at the role of research in agricultural biotechnology. I will be speaking with the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria on this issue. But first, we take a look at some agricultural biotechnology stories. Nigerian scientists have reaffirmed the safety of the Bt cowpea for human consumption. The president of the National Biotechnology and Biosafety Consortium, Celestine Agboru, has refuted claims by those against the technology. He insists that the crop does not contain any harmful element dangerous to human health. The scientist adds that the pot borer-resistant cowpea was developed by Nigerians and not foreigners. It was developed at the Institute of Agricultural Research, Zaria, and the research took about 10 years before it was granted approval for environmental release by the National Biosafety Management Agency. The National Biotechnology and Biosafety Consortium says it followed the process from the start of the confined field trials to the point when it got ratified for environmental release. Ugandan researchers who have been working since 2005 to breed more nutritious bananas say their progress won't be hindered by a strict liability clause in the nation's latest biosafety bill. The scientists are using genetic engineering to develop bananas rich in such nutrients as vitamin A, iron, zinc, and folic acid. The Ugandan parliament recently passed a bill that regulates the process for commercializing such crops. Head of the banana research program at the National Agricultural Research Laboratories, Jerome Kubiriba, says though the current Genetic Engineering Regulatory Act has a specific clause which is strict on scientists, it will not stop the release of genetically modified crops to the farmers. A group of researchers say global agriculture is increasingly being dominated by just a handful of crops with limited genetic richness. Their research findings, published in the peer-reviewed Open Scientific Journal PLOS ONE, shows that despite an uptick in the diversity of crops grown across the planet over the last 60 years, the largest share of crops worldwide is now made up of just a few types of plants. Examples are crops like wheat, maize, soya, and rice, which now take up almost 50% of the farmland on Earth. The researchers combined data on 161 plant groups across 22 subcontinental regions taken from 6 decades between 1961 and 2014. The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization (FAO) has called on Sudan and Eritrea to step up vigilance as well as control measures for containment of destructive infestation that will protect crops from the world's most dangerous migratory pest. This comes after heavy rains and cyclones triggered a recent surge in desert locust populations, causing an outbreak to develop in Sudan and Eritrea. The outbreak is rapidly spreading along both sides of the Red Sea to Saudi Arabia and Egypt. Welcome back. One of the clear advantages of modifying food crops is that it enables them grow bigger and faster than those traditionally grown. This ensures increased productivity and provides the population with more food, particularly in places with frequent droughts or where the soil is incompetent for agriculture. Nigerian scientists to promote genetic modification technology for food say reports from over 1,000 studies from between 2003 to 2013 shows no human or environmental dangers from genetically engineered crops. They maintain that scientific research conducted thus far has not detected any significant hazard directly connected with the use of GM crops. The technology's promoters in Nigeria maintain that the use of biotechnology for agriculture in Nigeria will result not just in increased access to food, but productivity and good health. Genetic modification could improve the nutritional value of food and is seen as a key element in reducing global rates of malnutrition. The golden rice, for example, is enhanced with beta-carotene, and this makes it provide a dose of vitamin A, which is a nutrient lacking in many of the world's diets. About 700,000 children die annually as a result of vitamin A deficiency, and so this explains why the genetically modified golden rice is critical to reducing malnutrition. A report released by the European Commission on a meta-study of 50 projects indicates the use of biotechnology or genetically engineered plants does not imply higher risk than classical breeding methods or technologies. Regulatory agencies and organizations that study food safety, including the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the American Medical Association, the World Health Organization, Health Canada, U.S. Department of Agriculture, the National Academy of Sciences, and the National Biosafety Management Agency have found genetically modified foods ingredients safe, with no side effects associated with their use. The Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria is involved in agricultural biotechnology research, and I will be speaking with Yarama Ndepaya, Director of Plant Resources of the Council, shortly after this timeout on the Council's role in agricultural biotechnology research in Nigeria. And joining me on the program is Yarama Ndepaya, Director of Plant Resources Department of the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria. It's good to have you join me on the program.
It's my pleasure, madam. Thank you.
I would like to know what your take is on the research work that has been done in the area of agricultural biotechnology in Nigeria over the years.
Well, before I go to answer directly your interest on agricultural biotechnology, let me say a little about what the Agricultural Research Council is. The Agricultural Research Council is a government parastatal under the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, created by a decree, and is given the mandate to coordinate, supervise, and regulate all agricultural research institutions in Nigeria. So, having said that, then, as a research body, the issue of biotechnology research is one of the things we believe in. Our mandate is to bring technologies to farmers, to bring technology to Nigerians. And whatever technology that can improve significantly productivity of the rural populace is of great concern to us. And we think in our quest for technology, biotechnology is one of the technologies that we found to be very significantly important in agriculture.
From a researcher's perspective, how relevant is agricultural biotechnology to Nigeria's food needs?
Biotechnology is about the only solution to certain notorious cases. In a case where you cannot get conventional breeding to bring about solution, the only answer is to go biotechnology, where you can seek the gene from any other available source within the globe and insert it into the exact construct where you want it in the plant. The IITA is an international institute with the world mandate on cowpea. IITA has screened so many thousands of germplasm of cowpea and its wild relatives, looking for resistance to maruca, and there was none. I'm privileged to have worked in the breeding program of IITA for 7 years. There was no resistance found in the natural, conventional way. So the only answer was to look for where do we find the gene and insert it using biotechnology. And today we are happy to announce that using that technology of getting a right gene from a right source, which is outside the cowpea genome, and inserting into the cowpea, has given us Bt cowpea resistant to Maruca. So the practical issue is that you go biotechnology in cases where you have comparative advantage over conventional breeding.
Okay, so talking about the Bt gene, we've seen it being infused into cotton and cowpea. So what exactly does the Bt do to these crops that makes it, have the kind of results that are beneficial to farming?
This is a very good question. It's like saying that someone has headache and he takes Panadol, and you're asking, what exactly does Panadol do to cure the headache? Because we had Panadol cure headache. That means there is a stress that is put in the system of a man that is unlocked by the use of Panadol. Similarly, when you put a Bt gene into a particular environment of a plant, what you are doing is that the plant is sick, being attacked by certain things that are foreign to the plant. You are building the immunity of the plant to be able to stand against that particular attack. So the Bt gene, in a way, confers ability to withstand pressure caused by pathogens and diseases, but it is not harmful to man.
And what is the science behind the Bt being harmful to the insects, for example, and not being harmful to man?
The science behind the Bt being harmful to man, to insect.
And not being harmful to man.
And not being harmful to man. It's, the phenology of man and insects are different. So the gene is such that it has a capacity to be able to stop certain activities of the cell of that particular pathogen in the plant. But it will not be able to stop the activities of the genes or the activities of the human body, because the human body is quite different from the insect physiology. The physiologies are quite different. So the way the insect will be attacked by the gene is not the same way it can react in a human physiology.
Okay, and we'll be talking more about that, but we have to go on a short break. And my guest has been Yarama Ndapaya, the Director, Plant Resources of the Agricultural Research Council here in Abuja. We'll take a quick break, and Agribiotech will be back after this time out. Please stay with us.
Did you know that genetically modified organisms, GMOs, are safe and do not pose any risk, hazard, or danger to human, animal, and the environment? Neither do they cause cancer, infertility, sterility, tumor, or any adversity. There is safe use of GMO drugs like insulin, vaccine, rapid diagnostic test kits for malaria, HIV, hepatitis, and so on. The safety of GMOs is certified by the World Health Organization, WHO, Food and Agricultural Organization, FAO, European Food Safety Authority, EFSA, the National Academies of Science globally, the Royal Society, UK, and over 110 prize Nobel laureates. GMOs are safe, effective, and certified by MBMA in Nigeria.
Welcome back. The program is still Agribiotech, and the Director of Plant Resources of the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria, Yarama Ndapaya, is still here with me. Thanks for staying with us on Agribiotech.
Thank you, Clara.
Okay. We recently saw the approval for the environmental release of the Bt cowpea. How did you receive that news?
Well, to me, it was not a shock. It was actually expected, long expected from my side, in the sense that I have been following the development in the Bt cowpea, which, like I said, started far back in 2009 with a memorandum between AITF, which is actually an African Agricultural Technology Foundation, who seeks important technologies and bring them royalty-free to our farmers. So the news of Bt cowpea being released being approved for commercialization by the National Biosecurity Management Agency was a welcome development. But let me correct one impression. That BT cowpea is not yet to be on the farm, because though it is environmentally released, that actually tells you that as far as safety and risk issues are concerned, the biotechnology is risk-free. It can be cultivated. That is what National Biosafety Agency has done. Now, because it is cowpea, it's one of the crops of Nigeria. And in Nigeria, we have a law for the seed under National Variety Release Committee. So until the National Variety Release Committee also subject the material to analysis in terms of its adaptability, its area of coverage, which ecology is adapted for production, what is the economics of its production, how valuable, what value will it add to farmers in terms of value for cultivation. Those are critical elements that only the National Variety Committee can access. So it will become commercial on the fields when it has received the stamp of registration and release for commercialization by the National Variety Release Committee. But of course, National Variety Release Committee would not go ahead until that stamp, which has been secured from the National Biosecurity Management Agency, is given.
The BT cotton has already received that stamp from the National Variety Release Committee, and I'd also like to know your take. I mean, you were involved in this research, from the beginning till it got to the point where it was approved. So what would be your take on the fact that we can now see these seeds being deployed for commercial farming in Nigeria?
The BT cotton was released by our institute, the Institute for Agricultural Research in Zaria, in collaboration with a private seed company. 2 of those materials were released, registered by the Variety Release Committee. And of course, you will agree with me that history has it that Nigeria has had very standing cotton industry in the time past. Unfortunately, one single issue, the cotton bollworm, came up and destroyed all our cotton. And because of that, we are witnesses to how many cotton industries has packed up. The textile industries, everything, go to Kaduna, Kano, everything has packed up. So the need to introduce that BT cotton become paramount, with a view to ensuring that we are able to regain our past glory in the industry of cotton. More so now that our population is growing, we have a lot of youth on ground. So the tendency is to be able to re-expand that industry so that our youth can be employed. And I can assure you that with that bollworm resistant cowpea that the Institute for Agricultural Research has commercialized, it is a stepping stone to the beginning of revitalization of the textile industry in Nigeria. So for me, it's a great welcome, it's a great achievement that Nigeria has the privilege to revisit that industry and bring it something that is worth. Of course, you see the kind of clothes we wear in Nigeria. The Babariga, many parts of the world are making a lot of money, foreign exchange from us, buying textiles, which shouldn't be so. So I think it's a right step in the right direction towards recovering our import dependency on textile materials.
What stage are we now as regards the deployment of the BT cotton seeds?
Well, the BT cotton, like I said, Nigeria has a law that any material, crop, seed to be produced in this country, the seed must be also produced in this place. So the first step was to get the registration done. The registration has been done good enough. It was in a partnership with a private seed company who is interested in its royalty. So for now, there is an arrangement, I understand, that is in place between the seed company and the research institutions and farmer organizations to select some good number of outgrowing farmers who will be accredited basically to grow that BT cotton, which will be mopped up by the industry at the end of each production. So there is a chain of production that is being built, and that chain of production is a clear documentation of particular number of farmers who will work directly with the research and the company to make sure that the beginning point of takeoff, seeds are multiplied, and then farmers have access to seeds which they can grow on outgrower scheme basis to start the commercialization. After some few years, of course, the industry will expand when seeds has become so much available and many outgrowers can then participate. So That is the step I know for now.
And how do you expect this particular development, I mean the deployment of these seeds, to impact on the fortunes of farmers in Nigeria?
Oh, it will do greatly. Greatly in the sense that, you know, the bollworm, for example, in cotton has been a major threat to cowpea production in Nigeria. So now if farmers get varieties that are bollworm resistant, that is to tell you that they can now earn very much from a very little area. There will be a larger production from a very little area. Also, don't forget, there's already a commercial entity, a seed company, which is pushing it, which means arrangements for adequate inputs will be available. Arrangement for buyback will be available. So it's not going to be a situation where I am producing, who will buy? You're producing because there's already a buyer. Just like the BT cowpea, I can imagine the wonders the BT cowpea could do. Because I know the large number of hectareage in this country that is put under cowpea cultivation. And I also know the dread, the kind of challenge, pests and diseases of cowpea, particularly maruca, are reducing farmers' yield every year in the fields. So if we are able to be lucky enough to get this BT cowpea commercialized, I am very sure that our farmers in the rural communities who grow cowpea will quickly want to multiply these seeds. They will quickly want to grab it and quickly want to begin to produce it because it will reduce the number of sprays. It will give us a better environment. Because every day if you go to farmers who produce cowpea now, I bet you, I have worked in cowpea research for 7 years with IITA. Many farmers spray up to 7 times in a year just to get a produce. With this BT now, you might spray only once or twice. So it gives us a safer environment to live in and gives us a higher productivity. And what will be your final word on the use of agricultural biotechnology in Nigeria? My final word is that biotechnology, for us as scientists, we see it as a very important tool that can significantly contribute to our productivity. But we must also not let Nigerians lose out of biotechnology because of fears and myths being propagated by people who know very little about science. Agricultural biotechnology is a science to the core. Government should lean on its scientists that are very much available in the agricultural research institutes and the universities, who have basic understanding and knowledge of this field to advise appropriately. That is why offices like mine, the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria, are created by government. Therefore, government should believe in the institutions they have put to oversee these organizations and take policy advice from them with a way forward so that we can make the agricultural biotechnology also a possible tool that Nigerians can benefit and improve their livelihoods. Thank you very much for joining me. It's a pleasure being in your studio. Thank you so much. And my guest has been Yarama Ndapaya, Director of Plant Resources of the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria, speaking on research and agricultural biotechnology. Agribiotech will continue after this timeout. Do stay with us. Our viewers out there, thanks so much for the feedback. I take this email from this viewer who wants to know where he can get the BT cowpea seeds for his farm. The Open Forum on Agricultural Biotechnology has an answer to that inquiry. Keep the emails coming and we will be glad to provide you with answers to your questions on biotechnology and agriculture. The email address as shown on your screen is agribiotech1@yahoo.com. You could alternatively tweet your questions at agribiotech13 or post them as comments on our Facebook page, Agribiotech on TBC. I am Lara Folayo. See you next time.